Hi, well you know I like easy dishes, and today I'm going to show you my recipe for gumbo, which somebody else gave me. Now, gumbo is easy to make, but it does require a lot of cutting up, as you can see. So be prepared for that. But once you get this going, it's really easy. You just let it simmer for a while. I do this on a day when I'm going to be around because you want to let it simmer 2 hours and then 2 more hours. And it can go longer than that if you like. But first things first, let me tell you what's in this. I have 2 pounds of chicken thighs. I have here 1½ tablespoons of Better Than Bouillon chicken base, 1½ teaspoons of Better Than Bouillon vegetable base. I have in my pot 8 cups of hot water. This is 1 pound of kielbasa cut up, and I have a pound of medium shrimp, 4 cloves of garlic, 1 large onion chopped, 3 bell peppers, 4 large stalks of celery. My okra's back here. Keep this frozen. You don't put this in till the last 2 hours. I have 1 table Worcestershire sauce. Let's go that way. I have 1 tablespoon of Worcester sauce. And I have a teaspoon of Tabasco. And in here I have a teaspoon of salt and pepper. You also need some filet powder. Now that's just sassafras, I believe, chopped up. Now the other thing, I got this, and oh my gosh, it has the best flavor, but oh my gosh, it is so spicy. So I do add some of this. I just sprinkle some on. They can always doctor it up as they're eating it. Now, like I said, there's a lot of meat in here. I don't know why you couldn't have this recipe, but there's like, how many? 3 pounds of meat in here. But it is so good. Now, as I understand, the difference between jambalaya and gumbo is jambalaya has the rice in the dish. Gumbo, you put on top of hot rice. There's probably a lot more differences that I just tried to boil it down to the least common denominator. So here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is I have a pot on the stove, a skillet, and I'm going to brown the chicken. Then I'm going to brown this a little. Then I'm going to throw in the garlic and add the vegetables, except for the okra. You leave that alone. And I'm going to let that get a little soft. Then it's all going to go in the pot where my 8 cups of water are. Now I want to move over there and show you what I'm using, because this is a lot of quantity. I got one of these roaster ovens. This is an 8-quart, and I love this thing. I use it for so much. I don't use my crock pots anymore. What I like about it is, if you look here, it's like having an oven. I can choose whatever temperature I want, or I can do it really low like I'm having a crock pot. My water's in here, and it's hot, and I'm going to add the bouillon to that and let it melt in. Now another tip, I'm not sure why you do it, if it makes it steam better, but I always put between the liner and the bottom a little bit of water, just a little bit of water. So I'm going to get going. So I started browning the chicken. Then I'm going to take this out, put it in my big pot, and then I'm going to brown the kielbasa a little bit. You don't brown the shrimp. But you know, I know this calls for a lot of expensive ingredients. I don't know why you couldn't add a whole lot more water and some more spices with the same amount of meat, and you could make a double batch with just more water. It is good. And I also want to tell you that it freezes really well. I put the gumbo in one baggie, and I put the rice that I've cooked in another baggie. And it heats up very nicely. We're going to finish this. You put in the okra the last 2 hours. Then, just before you're going to serve it, you sprinkle on some filet powder. So you use everything except the okra and the filet powder at this point. Now I'm going to add the garlic, and let this go about a minute. It smells so good when you do this to garlic. I will have all the ingredients in the description below, as I always do. We're going to let that go about a minute. Alright. Now I'm going to add the rest of the vegetables. There go the onions, the pepper. I don't know, could you call this a health dish, all these vegetables? And some celery. I think that's what I would do. I think I'm going to stick to that story. Now I'm going to let these go about 5 minutes so they soften up a bit. All right, now I'm going to put my meat in. That is my chicken and my kielbasa, my shrimp. Now I'm going to add the vegetables. And I'm going to add the spices, not the filet powder. You leave that on the counter. This is 1 tablespoon Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon pepper, 1 teaspoon salt, and 1 teaspoon Tabasco. Now I'm going to deal with this. It is the spices in here. I'm real sensitive to spices and their mixture. Excellent, but boy, it is spicy. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little on. They can always add more at the table. Now I'm going to bring this to a simmer, a good simmer. You can see it's using up most of an 8-quart pot, and I still have to add the okra at 2 hours. So remember, leave the okra in the freezer for 2 hours, leave the filet powder on the counter. Let's get this going. Okay, you can see it's bubbling nice. I'm going to put the lid on, turn it down a little bit, but then I'm going to let this go for 2 hours. On my roaster oven, I have it at 400 to bring it up to this. I'm going to turn it down to 300. I may have to turn it back up. I'll check it after a little bit. But on goes the lid. See this? It's beautiful. Well, this has come to a nice simmer. I have it on 400, so I'm going to turn it down to 350 and see if that'll work. Put the lid back on. But as for me, it's 50 degrees outside. Second day of March. It's not windy, the sun's shining, and I just heard my first sandhill cranes of the year. Whoo-wee, spring is coming. I'll see you on the other side. Doesn't that smell good? Oh wait, sorry, don't mean to rub it in, but boy, it smells good. It's been 2 hours, and now I'm going to add the okra. You keep the okra frozen, and it's a pound bag. Then I'm going to get this back up to some temperature and let it go another 2 hours. I'll put the lid on. Isn't that easy? Oh, the smell in here. I've got my rice underneath. You can see the kielbasa, the chicken, the shrimp. Oh, it's so good. Put on some more of this Tony Chachere's, somebody help me there, or original Creole seasoning. It wasn't spicy enough for me and it kind of zipped it up a bit, but now I want you to remember when this stuff sits, if you're going to keep some in the refrigerator, it gets spicier as you do that. So I added a little bit of this. And this is my supper. Look at this, with a nice salad. Although there's so many vegetables in there. Oh, give this a try. Yeah, it is a lot more work as far as cutting up things. But when you get those things cut up, it's easy. You just put it on the stove. I did 2 hours, added the okra, frozen okra, 2 hours, and then I put just a little filet powder in there. And it is ready to go. I don't know about a slow cooker. I know some of you are wondering. If you want to play with it, try it. But it's supposed to simmer for 4 hours actually. It picks up so much flavor. Oh, give this a try. Gumbo. It's an easy gumbo.